1, 0, 0, 1. Hey, don't mind me. I'm just coding. Or what people really think about when they think coding? Oh, I know what coding is. It's all that gobbledygook of those ones and zeros. Don't mind me, I'm gonna get back to this coding here. 1, 0, 0, 0. Ones and zeros and zeros and ones and ones and zeros and zeros and coding. What is coding? In society, we hear coding and we automatically think of computer programmers just sitting at their desks and hammering out ones and zeros and ones and ones and zeros and zeros and zeros and strings of endless senselessness of numbers of ones and zeros. But really, this is just the final step, and we don't do any of that step. The computers take over and they understand that binary. So why don't we focus on something that's a little more exciting? So you want to know a little bit more about this Hour of Code business? Well, Brilliant Labs hopes to help teachers, students, and everyone else across the Atlantic provinces who are hoping to learn a little bit of coding during the Hour of Code. So sit back, listen up, and we'll take you through step by step what the Hour of Code has to offer your students. The Hour of Code is an international initiative that's been put together by its parent company, Code.org. For the past few years, Code.org has tried to instill an appreciation of computer programming, otherwise known as code, across the earth. And Brilliant Labs has many different ways of bringing this vision of connecting the outside world with computer language to schools as students create simple robots that can answer yes or no questions as they interact with a 3D printer. All of this can be linked back to the skills that they will learn with the Hour of Code. Now this year, for the 2015 rendition of the Hour of Code, one of the samples that students can engage with this Hour of Code Minecraft program where users can move their character across the screen using nothing else other than little graphic user interface commands that's very familiar given the number of students who already play Minecraft at home. Another example, we know what's happening in December. The latest Star Wars edition coming this holiday season in theaters around the world. You get to move the little droids around the screen using graphic drag and drop interface blocks. It's going to be really engaging for your students. Now, I know what you might be thinking. All of this coding, all this computer programming, you want my students to actually sit in front of devices for an hour? I don't have that many devices for my students to be able to sit in front of one device for every student. Fear not! The Hour of Code for the last few years has developed some no device, some technology-free, some unplugged activities for your students to get involved with. So check out the Hour of Code unplugged activities at this link here below. And it's pretty neat because it'll take students through a very simple program using visual commands or blocks. If you have access to cups or paper plates or even a pencil and paper, students will be able to learn a little bit about visual programming, logic statements, if-then statements, and the fundamentals of computer science and learning how to talk to a computer. If you're looking for a way to motivate your students to become more involved in the Hour of Code, simply show them a slide like this. We say that the Hour of Code is an international initiative to give everyone in the world a chance to learn what it is like to talk to computers. It's tough to visualize how far this message has traveled without seeing an image like this. And you can see that there are millions of users across the world who are engaging and have already signed up to host an Hour of Code activity. A couple of stats from last year. Did you know that New Brunswick had the highest participation rates per capita in the whole country? We're hoping to top that this year. All you have to do in order to get one of these pins dropped on your location is to offer an event to your students. You're going to go to thehourofcode.com and register your event. Now, something to keep in mind, if you teach 4 classes, if you teach 1 class, if you teach 10 classes, that is going to be the number of separate events that you register. That way we get a real-time understanding of how many events and how many students are going to be participating from New Brunswick, from Nova Scotia, from PEI, from any province in Canada, and that information will be deposited directly to our Hour of Code stats from Canada. Now, before we go any further with how to register your event at hourofcode.com, I thought we would rewind a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about when we're using a computer. It comes down to what the user wants the computer to do and how the computer interprets the user's input. Many of us get confused when we talk about that link. And we say that that link is coding. But what do we mean by coding? We have to learn a little bit about how we use that language. When we say we are going to code a computer, many people misinterpret that to mean something like this. A person sitting down at the computer terminal and generating this series of ones and zeros and a green screen with all this information kind of falling into it. That's not coding. This is binary language. Did you know that a computer's simple binary language is hidden amongst our world of gadgets that we use on a daily basis? Take a look at this. Most of our devices have this little slash and dot system. You know, the world of electronic devices is actually sending us a joke on a daily basis. Take a look around you. Look at all of your electronic devices. All of these devices that have a power switch, they have some sort of coding that has happened in order to tell the device what the user wants it to do. Really, it's a way for the electronic world to scream out at the users, "Learn how to code us!" And we're just idly sitting back and ignoring that message when really we should be getting out there and learning what the difference is between human interaction and the desired result. What is happening from the time that we push that on button to the device springing to life and doing what it is that we requested? Is there something between this human interaction and this desired result? Yes, there is. And that something is coding. What we haven't talked about is how to code. Many students who are participating in an hour of code activity simply think, oh, this is an activity that I'm doing. I'm dragging these blocks across the screen, and then when I hit run, my little character, my little avatar, walks across the screen. They really don't think, oh, I'm actually programming this computer to do something. They just think that they're really following an activity. So let's stop and take a moment to explain to those students what coding is really like. And there's a great comparison that I like to use when I'm teaching students how to code, and that is what it's like to follow a recipe when you're baking cookies. That's right, baking cookies. Let's take a look. So, we need to know how to go from this, a lump of dough, into the perfect cookie. Similarly, we need to know how to go from this to a simple robot. What is that link between computer language and user language? And that link is much like finding the link between your dough to the perfect cookie. An hour of code is going to help our students understand that connection. Hopefully that video cutaway simplified this complex idea that you may have thought of coding to be. Really, what coding is, it's about creating a precise set of instructions, and just like a recipe, if we use the wrong quantity of ingredients in a code, if we use the wrong punctuation, a period instead of a comma, a purple block instead of an orange block, we have changed those instructions in a way that the computer can't correctly translate our set of instructions in order to perform our desired results. I have one more analogy of how we can compare coding to something that we do in our everyday lives, and that is learning languages. Think about a computer as an electronic Rosetta Stone, where the Rosetta Stone is inscribed in many different Neolithic languages. A computer has the ability to accept all those computing languages like C++, Arduino, JavaScript, processing, Visual Basic, Python, and even Scratch. A computer can accept commands in all of these languages and translate it into the user's desired end result. Now that we know how to describe coding and explain coding to our students, how about we prepare to host an event?
It's time to create our first hour of code event. Let's open up our internet browser and navigate to www.hourofcode.com. We're going to assume that this is your first time signing up for an event. If you would like to browse around the website, you can take a look at their extensive how-to tutorial section where you can scroll down and learn a little bit about what technologies you're going to need, how to start an hour of code competition, and some of the marketing videos might be pretty interesting for you to show your students. Some teachers may even choose to print off some of the resources. They have great posters, they have great videos to show your students, all kinds of things like that. Let's go back to the homepage of hourofcode.com, and we're going to sign up for our first event. Scroll down to the bottom and type in your information. It's important to remember when you are registering your school for the first time, make sure that you type out your full school name or your full organization name. In the event that there are other teachers at your school who are also registering an event, you don't want to put in an abbreviated form of your school just in case you don't get matched up with their events. We come down here, we select an event. It's going to be in a school, the event location. You can use a postal code, and it'll actually do a great job at locating that address using Google Maps, and it knows that I am in Fredericton, New Brunswick, and I can say my entire school is participating. And if you highlight your special event, they're going to ask for more event details. If you want to host a public event, you might want to fill out that section, but we're just going to say that my entire school is participating, and we can sign up. And that's it. That's all you have to do. If I'm a teacher signing up for my very first hour of code, I might want to actually click on the how-to guides and scroll down to choosing a tutorial. So in section 3 here, you can see that there are several different tutorials that your students can choose. So I'm going to click on the full hour-long tutorials, and it'll take me over to the parent site that I was talking about earlier in this video at code.org. And there are all kinds of tutorials offered by code.org, or if you would like to take a look at some of the tutorials that are offered by third-party websites, you can as well. You can also find the tutorials and activities that are considered unplugged, where you don't require any devices. And then finally, at the very bottom, there are all kinds of options for teacher-led hour of code lesson plans. If you would like to click on a specific program language, if you would like to focus on middle school, elementary, or even high school, there are all kinds of different lesson plans where you can download them, and they'll take you through step by step of how to set up your lesson in order to reach the full potential of your hour of code session. Okay, let's go back to the list of tutorials, and I'll show you just how easy it is to host a middle school style event. Let's try out the Star Wars Building a Galaxy example. So here we are, it's launched the app, Building a Galaxy with code. We can either use JavaScript or blocks. There are two options, either blocks, which is going to be very familiar to students, or JavaScript, aimed at some of our students who may have already been introduced to coding. We'll click on this one. All right, here we are. So each puzzle, there's a number of puzzles as you can see in each activity. We're going to just click and see how easy it is to navigate around. It says add a second move right command to your code and click here to run it. We can already see over here in our sketch area that we have one move right, and in our sketch catalog, we're going to grab another block, move it over, and we'll click run to see what our BB-8 droid does. All right, congratulations. Let's continue on. We need more scrap metal. Can you get all the metal in this area? All right, so let's take a look. I see metal here and I see metal here, and we have one code already over in our workspace, and we're gonna run it just to see what happens. All right, so we need, try again. We'll put one more move right over here. If you hover over these blocks, it'll actually tell you what the BB-8 is going to be commanded to do. Then we are going to say move down, 1, move down, 2, and let's move down one more. Reset and run. 1, 2, look at that. Here we are. You just wrote 5 lines of code, all time total. There we are. Done. Continue. And we can keep going. It's as easy as that. Alright, now that I'm over at code.org, I'm going to click on my teacher homepage and bring up my student accounts in progress. As you can see, I hosted 4 events because I have 4 classes last year. This may change a little bit for the 2015 version of Hour of Code, but let's just go and assume that it doesn't change here. If I click on 8B, and I'm going to drag my window over so that I keep the identity of my students confidential, you can see that most of my students finished all of the Hour of Code. Another feature of the teacher homepage is that you can view the completed levels as well as the number of lines of code that your student completed.
Whew. You must be exhausted. I know I am after a long tutorial like that. What better way of closing off our first tutorial than to announce that we are sponsoring prizes for a few lucky classrooms that are participating in the Hour of Codes. First up, and most exciting, we're going to sponsor 3 classrooms. One at the elementary level will receive their very own iPad mini. But wait, there's more. One at the middle level will receive their very own iPad mini. But wait, you guessed it, there's more. One at the high school level will receive their very own iPad mini. Exclusively from brilliantlabs.ca. The next prize that Brilliant Labs is happy to announce is that for one lucky classroom who participates in the Hour of Code, they will receive an all-expenses-paid trip to Code Camp in May. Brilliant Labs will be releasing a little bit more information about that in the coming months, so make sure that you check back on our website at brilliantlabs.ca. And finally, just because you sat through this tutorial, I am personally offering a prize to one lucky classroom. I'll be coming into your classroom and offering a class-wide session on coding, a subject area of your choice. We can do anything from lighting up an LED by typing in a few lines of code or moving a robot across the classroom floor by using some code that you learned in the Hour of Code. If you need a recap as you're going forward and preparing for your event over the next couple of weeks, please follow us online by checking out our website at brilliantlabs.ca or follow us on Twitter. We are going to be hosting some live tutorials here in our studio using Google Hangouts. So check us out on our website, follow us on Twitter for more information coming up shortly. If you're still with us, once again, thank you very much for watching, and stay tuned for more learning content from Brilliant Labs. Happy Hour of Code.